pretty.
It's pretty.
It is.
Please rise for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Lord, we are meeting today to conduct matters of business. Guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Once again, welcome to the November 17th council meeting. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lingo? Here. Mrs. Moody? Here. Mr. Parsons?
Here.
Miss Peterson?
Here.
Mr. Redding?
Here.
Mrs. Dosa?
Here.
Mr. George?
Here.
Okay, everybody is present and accounted for. Move on to the minutes from a November 3rd meeting. I didn't see anything, but then I kind of read over typos and so forth, don't even see them, so.
Nope.
Anybody have anything to correct? Okay, I'd like a motion to
Make
accept.
I'll make a motion to adopt the minutes as printed.
We have a motion by Mr. Parsons to adopt as printed. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Peterson? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. I have no correspondence to bring before you other than what was in your packet. Anybody else have any correspondence? Okay. Guest. Sherry Tate.
Chris Smith.
Okay.
I'm Cherie Tate. She's much prettier than me, trust me.
All right. If you'd come up and address us from the podium, sir.
This here?
Yeah.
Am I allowed to pass these out?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
If I run out, I run out. Mayor, am I correct?
Yes.
And council at large, you're not gonna believe what I'm gonna talk about. That's why I was listening
Oh, there
intently
you
to your
go.
dialogue. I'm gonna run out of cards,
That's okay. You don't,
but I'm gonna give these out. And I'm going to leave these, just gonna leave them there in case you wanna pass them out.
Thank you.
My name is Chris Smith. I'm the principal at Queen City Career Prep High School. And I have usually a quick shtick, but I'm not going to do that because I heard the dialogue. And if you heard that, what they were talking about is keeping it in the schools. We are a credit recovery dropout school. So if kid Chris is struggling with attendance, et cetera, he's behind in his credits, he can come to us and we will help them get on track to where they need to be in order to graduate, and they can stay with us till they're 21. So we are a dropout / credit recovery tech school. Well, CTE, Career Tech Ed, is where we're headed for. We're in a 3-phase mode. I'm in my 2nd year there. I was in a traditional school for 26 years, and one of the reasons I left, what these two gentlemen were just talking about, is I saw essential skills that were desperately needed, that needed to be in a traditional school, and they just didn't offer it. And they would either go to Butler Tech, Warren County, or they'd go to the Oaks, or back home where I'm from, they'd go to Pike Vocational School, instead of doing it right in the high school. So what are we doing? Phase 1, we had to save the school, to be honest with you. We weren't doing well academically. I've been known to do that in my 27 years and 17 years of administration in public school. So we had to get our report card back up to where it needed to be. We did that. We got a 2-year agreement from the state and through our sponsor, so we're excited about that. We're in the 1st year of that. We're in phase 1 as far as getting our Common Core, which is our language arts, science, social studies, et cetera, where it needed to be. We've got good instructors so that we now, when Chris comes to our school, we know he's going to get a solid education in the core area with electives to get the 20 credits to graduate. Phase 2, you're talking a 3 to 5 year plan here, folks. We're in year number 2. We had to get the academics in order. Now we're looking at the CTE, Career Tech Ed, where we're trying to introduce industrial recognized credentials. Those are pathways set by the state. That's what you were talking about. That's what he was talking about. It's exactly what you're talking about. Phase 2 is we want to introduce this, hopefully by the year 3. We're in process of that right now. What is the Career Tech Ed we're looking at? You've heard of it. Logistics. I guarantee everybody in here has heard about it. Logistics. It's manufacturing. How do you get it from point A to point B to your house? How's that work? And they need people. We are currently literally in process right now of articulating with Cincinnati State and working with a guy named Greg Stone out of Dayton through Gym City, which is our partner school in Dayton, to set up some type of CT logistics plan, and a guy named Jeff Brewster, who's my business consultant at large, who also oversees the Dillard Center in Walnut Hills, if you're familiar with that. We are in the process of logistics, healthcare, phlebotomy, STNA, and of course business. Why not when you're doing the manufacturing pathway? We're also doing construction. There's a program called Youth Build Easter Seals, which is in Walnut Hills. And basically what happens is if Chris wants to come to our school, work on his core credits, at the same time, guess what he can do? He can go up half a day or a full day with us, full day with them, and work on construction skills. That's what Youth Build does. We've got 5 students doing that right now. When I came in, I think we had 20 students. That was last year. We ended up getting up a certain amount. We are now at mid-90s. Our goal is to get up no more than 150 because we can't do it. Why? Because I don't want a bunch of kids I can't service, right? If you come to us, we want to be able to make you count. I don't want you just to be a stat. I want to know who you are. I just talked to 2 kids, and I'll deal with it here. I'll finish with this, I promise. I get excited when I hear dialogue like I heard when I walked in. It was perfect. I was like, what a great segue. That was perfect. I talked to 2 girls that were in my office yesterday. I said, Linnea, DeAsia, why do you want to get a diploma? Well, my mom, they're just giving it to me. I said, yo, come on now. Talk to me. I said, let me show you this. And I keep this sheet in my office on my front desk so I can make a copy of it. Look at 2019 labor statistics from the Department of Labor. If you get a high school diploma, your chances of increasing your wage for a yearly income is $8,000 to $10,000. Literally. That's not me telling you. That's 2019 Department of Labor. It's right there. If you decide to get a few more courses, if you want to get an associate's degree, what do you think happens? It just keeps going, right? So that's what I had to talk with them about. So why would you not want to get a diploma? It increases your chance, because here's our stick. Here's what we want. When you come to us, by the time you leave, we want you to move up the socioeconomic ladder, and we want you to become financially independent. Why? So you can have options, and as we say sometimes, get out of the 4-block mentality. And where I'm from, grew up, get out of the holler. That's what it is. And that's what we're about, and that's what we do. Any questions? Or I could go on for another 15 minutes, trust me. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I have a question, but I mean, we don't have a whole lot of time here.
Sure.
But how do your students find you, or how do you find your students?
We were formerly Life Skills under a former management company.
Got it, yeah.
Fusion Ed came in, and actually there's 11 schools across the state of Ohio, to be honest with you now.
I did look you up before
Yeah.
tonight's meeting.
Yes, and we were formerly Life Skills. We're different. I'll be honest with you, Jennifer, I bring a different, I brought a different game.
No,
And no, what I say that with Life Skills was a diploma.
Right.
Not with us. We want you to come in. We
Right.
want you to get a hard skill. I just told you what those were, right? The essentials. We want soft skills. We have a program called Envision It. It's from The Ohio State University, research-based. It's, do you know how to do a resume? Do you know how to interview? Do you know what to wear to an interview? If you go for a plumbing position, do you know what to wear? If you're going to a business, do you know what to wear? Dress for Success is a program in the city that we've worked with. Soon as COVID breaks, they're going to work with our ladies, because they give them 3 outfits, and they teach them how to interview.
I have a friend who's.
And then it is Sigma Phi Psi.
Wait. I want to know, though, get to my answer.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Is how do you get your students? Are your students now mostly from Cincinnati Public? Or you're a charter
CPS.
Okay.
Or Mount Healthy. We have 4 or 5 students that live in the Mount Healthy
How
School
did they
District.
find you?
Word of mouth.
Okay.
And I promote, and I go to places like this.
Okay.
I drive 50 minutes for a 5-minute presentation because I think it's worth it.
So these are students that for whatever reason, they did not get a diploma in high school.
Not necessarily, or they just struggled with credits.
Credits, right.
Because you got to have 20 to graduate.
Right.
So we'll get Chris coming into us with 5 credits and he's 18.
Okay, got it.
We can make that work. We are flexible enough we can do that. Traditional schools, folks, I was in it for 26 years. I'm a product of that. My kids went there. I'm all for public school. But don't forget, even though we're a charter, we're still public school money. So we're still a public school. The only difference is with charter, you have flexibility. I'm all for public school, y'all. Got my education in it, played basketball in it, loved the game, went to college, played it, got my degree. So I get it. I've been to public, I've been to private. I think there's a place for both. All we allow for, Jennifer, is flexibility for Chris's who are
Well,
struggling.
That's fine. That's all I wanted to know. The GED programs that are out there, though, people have struggled trying to pass that test for the GED.
Understood.
So this would be an alternative, or do you say you only take them up until they're 21, though?
No, ma'am, we have a 22-plus program that we
Okay.
just started this year with
Okay.
Pam Schreiner. We actually have over 20
All right.
students in it now.
Okay.
And you said a good comment. We are not GED.
No, it's the GED, it's been more difficult for people to pass GED, and with the structure of the way the GED, because we have it up here at Trinity.
Right.
And of course, they're not in session now.
Right. I'm just letting you know we don't
No,
we are a high
I
school
just
diploma,
wondered how
yeah,
that worked.
sanctioned with
Okay.
Cognia through
Okay, thanks.
Ohio Department of Education.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. It's just, we're a different animal.
Sure,
That's okay. There's a place for that.
absolutely.
I was in a public school for 26 years, so I get it.
Yep.
But I see the advantage of both.
Yep.
So that's what we're about. You've got a flyer. That's how you enroll. I didn't know how many people would be here. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Thank you.
We'll put those out on our front desk.
Yes, thank you very much.
Good luck to you. Good luck to you,
Chris.
Mr. Smith.
Appreciate you coming out.
My card. If anybody wants to get a hold of me, please give them my card.
Okay,
Thank you.
I can sit and talk for a half an hour without talking, no problem.
thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Oh,
you.
thank
Appreciate
you.
you coming. Public input. Anybody here wish to address council? Okay. Committee report, business partnership, Ms. Peterson.
Business Association did have a Zoom meeting again. Not too many people showed up, so they really didn't have a quorum. Didn't discuss too much, did mention that the Christmas in Mount Healthy definitely canceled. They're asking maybe businesses to do additional Christmas decorations just to make it look a little bit more Christmassy. And then did bring up the money that we received for COVID and the possibility of tables and whatever across from the barbecue place. They kind of had the same concerns too that we did, as far as it's there, who's going to take care of it, clean it, and that type of thing. So other than that, there was just some talk, but the meeting didn't last very long. So that's it for business. The Mount Healthy Alliance in October served 335 families. And they are trying to do a Christmas, where did I see it? Oh, they're having, they said 360 children signed up for the Santa Angel Project, sponsored by the Assumption Society of St. Vincent de Paul. They're trying to get, provide each child with a gift. They're collecting donations so they can buy it. They're not trying to get the actual gift or whatever. So if you want to contribute to that, then you can send it to the Assumption St. Vincent de Paul, 7711 Joseph Street, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45231. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Judy. Anybody have any questions?
Right, I know that, the Sharing Tree isn't gonna be like what it's been in the past, but I know that they're doing a lot of gift cards. I know John, and that's gonna be the primary focus. I don't know how many families are gonna be able to serve or what, but it's not gonna be the big, production that they usually have over at our community center. And John is still involved with it, even though
So you
he's
send the
retired.
money for the Sharing Tree?
Pardon me?
Where do you send the money or cards? or-
It still comes to the city. The city still
Okay,
has a
up here.
separate account for that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So, I'm sorry, make the check payable to the City of Mount Healthy Sharing Tree or
The sharing tree.
the Sharing Tree?
Sharing Tree.
Okay.
Sharing Tree.
Beautification, Ms. Moody.
I really have no report. All the planters have been picked up, and so hopefully we'll be able to do this next year.
Okay, thank you. Finance, Mr. Parsons.
The Finance Committee had a meeting prior to this, reviewed the draft budget for 2021 with the mayor and the finance director and the city manager. We had some comments and some minor changes. The first draft of it, I guess the first draft of the final budget will be in our packet for the next meeting, and we'll discuss it more then.
Thank you, sir. Questions for Mr. Parsons? Okay. Parks, Ms. Lingo.
No report.
Safety and Streets, Mr. Redding.
Just a couple of items, no real report, but there was a couple of items in your packet. A letter from, who is it, Ed Williams, I think, with TEC he has some proposals for Bernard Avenue study. And then there's also a resolution concerning La Boida and Park. I'm sure Bill will go over that more, but looks like we owe the city of North College Hill $195,000, so.
Half an hour.
No.
What? Did I read that wrong?
There- Joe, you just solved all of our problems in our finance committee meeting.
Really?
I just found
Agreed to be responsible.
$97,000, we're all good.
Did I miss something?
It's just that, if that was the total cost, we owe half of
Right,
that.
okay, yes, yes. But you have an amortization schedule here for the 195 is what I was looking
Yeah.
at, which was part of our 0% loan. That's what it says on the back.
Well, it, all right. There's
195,
two options. This, we went over this actually at our last meeting.
Ah,
And so,
I was not here.
right, right. I'll explain it when, but it's actually, the loan is with North College Hill. It's their 0% loan for the whole 195.
Right,
So we can pay half of the amortization schedule for the next 20 years, or we can pay a lump sum. And the recommendation, we've talked about this, is to pay the lump sum, 97,000.
okay,
And that's
I'm
what
good with
this
that.
resolution will do.
Okay, moving on then to schools, Mr. George.
Yes. Students won't return until students won't return to in-person school until after Christmas break, but that's something that'll be evaluated closer to the time. And the school district is the recipient of a grant to win a free school bus. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Mr. George. Library, Ms. Dosa.
Nothing new to report.
Okay, Urban Tree, Ms. Lingo.
No report.
We Thrive, Jennifer.
No report.
Move right on down then, Mayor's report, Mr. Wolf.
Yeah, most of you mentioned what I was gonna mention, so that's great. I do just wanna stress with the sharing tree, with these are really related, with the schools being shut down, there are a lot less contributions that'll be coming in for that. So, I really do encourage people to donate, either up here to the sharing tree or, separately through Assumptions Drive like they do. Typically, the schools, like each homeroom, will adopt a family and collect money from students, and the teacher will give money and buy the stuff, and that's just not happening because we're not in person. Now, on the bright side of that, the food insecurity issue in our area is largely taken care of right now. We've had a wealth of opportunities for free food, which has been really an amazing part of this, between Teakin Farm, Trinity, Greater Emmanuel Apostolic Church, the food pantry, and the school district all providing free food right now. What we've actually seen is the food pantry is giving out less food than they ever have. Less people are going up there because there are so many other places to get food. So fortunately, food is less of an issue right now, but I know hats and coats and gloves and even toys for kids in the community are still a big need. So I hope we can all just kind of step up a little bit that way and spread the word, because I don't know if that's getting spread as much. It's hard to ask people for more during a pandemic, but I do just want to put that on people's radar, because those two things are interrelated. I was glad to see that, I want to make sure I word this properly, I want to make sure we're safe, we're doing the right things for the health of our community. But I was a little terrified of restaurants getting completely shut down, and fortunately that didn't happen today. Especially because Square Mile, we know, just opened up in February, and the pandemic occurred in March, and we want to make sure they stay in business. I've been talking to Kim up there, and they actually have a plan. They have a way that they can actually build a drive-through, which they think would help them. It has not only helped Fibonacci stay in business, they've actually grown their business since they've opened the drive-through. They've done better. So I've reached out to Joy Pearson at Hamilton County Development. I've reached out to Catherine Fitzgerald from HCDC, and then Alex Linzer from the County Commissioner's Office. And they're all aware that to keep an eye out for grants and alternate funding that we could help them do that. It sounds like they think they can do it for about $5,000, which isn't too bad of an expense, honestly. So I'm hoping we can help them out. If anyone hears of grants or funding out there that we could just throw their way and let them know about it. I'd appreciate it if you keep your ears open, but I am working on that with them right now, hoping we can find something.
Mayor?
Yep,
Excuse me.
go for it.
We had that conversation the other day, and I thought about it later, and then I was gonna get with you, and I didn't. One of the things that they may wanna start working on is, I don't think drive-throughs are allowed through the core business district, but there's a workaround for that,
doing the
so
process.
they could at least start that process. I'd encourage them to call, Bill and Gordon to find out. It might be a BZA process, since the zoning doesn't allow it, it would be a variance.
Right.
So that's just something that we might
Yep.
wanna get on their radar.
I
Obviously,
will-
something, there's always a
Yeah,
great thing, to work around with that, so.
for sure. Thank you. I thought there was something else. I have some that I'm going to chime in during our executive session. I think that's it at this point.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the mayor? I do have one. We have a beer drive-through. We have a beer drive-through in town.
That was coming.
Yeah,
Once,
We can just pick up a cold one and drive on out to.
great. Well, actually, the state allows that now. I don't know if you're aware of that.
No,
Through West restaurants as well. They opened it up during COVID. It looks like they might make it permanent. Like
You
you
get-
can actually go through,
Yeah, you
you can
get
go
wine
get carry
too.
out at Applebee's and carry out a drink
Right.
now. But the way Fibonacci's works, because breweries are different, breweries have always been allowed to do that. The way that they do it is they have to tape off the growler. They either have cans that are sealed already, bottles that are sealed already, or you can take a growler for a fill up. If the growler is filled up, they have to tape it off so that it's not an open container. Then they have to attach a label to it saying the name of the brewery, the product they're selling, and the ABV on it. That way they know that it was bottled by the brewery. So there is a process for it, and you could always do carry out there that way, but they do have a drive-through.
and I can tell you that drive-through works, and they do that exact process, because I had the markings and everything.
It's a great, but plus they have wine there too.
So-
And on Wednesday, their wine is cheaper, their bottles of wine.
no, sure.
And they do delivery now.
And they do
Cheap wine
delivery.
drive-through. Yeah, that's nice.
They sell an awful lot of beer at the gas stations, too.
So, is the tax treatment the same? For the breweries? Is
So I don't know. I do know that they're under a different set of regulations than other liquor sellers in town because they're a manufacturer. So they're under a federal license, which is one of the reasons why it's more difficult for them to sell food, which is why they don't sell food. Whereas bars, it's all under the state license. So you get your liquor license and food license from the state, whereas their license for alcohol comes from the federal government because they're a manufacturer. I only learned all this because I tried to get them to sponsor like soccer, like donate money to the
Yeah.
youth league, and manufacturers aren't allowed to. Bars are allowed. That's why some of us played for Vince's in the YAA or Bud and a Grill or whatever, but manufacturers are not allowed. That's why you don't see youth sports sponsored by Budweiser or Miller. It's, I'm learning more and more the more I talk to them. Yeah.
All right.
It's fascinating.
Thank you. I just found it a little amusing.
Yeah.
City manager's report, Mr. Coker.
Thanks. First item, everybody has a copy on their desk. This just came through yesterday, for people that are struggling with rent and different things. We can pass this word around to our residents. There's a resource out there to help, that can help for people that are behind in utilities or rent or so forth. So we posted it on our website, and just, if you know of anybody, the information is on there.
I had one more thing. I'm sorry. When he was talking about the help, there's also going to be a pop-up COVID clinic this Friday from 11 to 1 at the North Central Library. And you don't have to make an appointment. There is an online resource where you can. It's quicker, but you do not have to. So 11 to 1. Sorry, that just reminded me of it.
No problem, not a problem. Just to kind of go, I got an email this evening from the chief. I just wanted to share with people. Just to kind of follow up on what the governor had talked about today, he said, I participated in the governor's phone conference this afternoon with Ohio's police chiefs and sheriffs. On Thursday, November 19th, 2020, the governor, through the state health department, will enact a mandatory curfew between the hours of 2200 and 0500 for the next 21 days. Violations thereof will be cited under, and he gives the code, failure to follow the health department orders is a misdemeanor offense. The emphasis on, is on on this, there are exemptions for the curfew. You can go to and from work, to and from medical facility, to and from care, family members. Gas stations will be permitted to be open all night. Speedway and United Dairy Farmer type stores will also be allowed to serve customers. Restaurants and bars must close by 10 p.m. For any patron wishing to sit inside, but carry-out service will be permitted. Large gatherings of 10 or more people will not be permitted. The goal is to slow down, not to shut down. We need to be very careful with the enforcement. Crowds of 10 people who are assembled based on the First Amendment activity are exempt to this rule. For example, 11 people having dinner in a house on Thanksgiving is a violation, but the 11 people protesting in front of the house is exempt. So this was sent to the
Oh,
chief,
boy.
to our folks. So our goal is to seek compliance to every extent as possible. So this was sent out to chief sent this to all police officers, but I just wanted to share. I know there's questions, and he said they still don't have it all. We're still working on the details, and everything should be finished by tomorrow. Mm-hmm.
The event places that have opened up here in town, how does that apply to them?
No more than 10,
Right.
right?
Yeah. I mean, I think what we're gonna mainly do is be responding to complaints. He said in here, emphasis on soft enforcement, meaning warn first before making arrests or issuing citations, and that they're gonna reply mainly to. I mean, we're not gonna be out canvassing this, but if
No.
it gets, and it's also enforced through the health department too.
But will we let, like, the event centers know?
Probably not.
Probably not. Okay.
It's, everybody knows this. I'm sure if it happens, we'll go up and engage them at
Sure,
some
sure,
point if we get complaints.
Okay.
And on that, just to kind of let everybody know, although I do believe we had somebody come in and cancel today. I don't know what, we've continued to rent out our community room, and it's been well used. But we've rented it out it's rented out Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend. Do you guys have any thoughts? Should we shut this down? Should we allow people to make their choices how they want to do this? I think one person canceled today. We have another, I think we had another 1 or 2 reservations now between now and the end of the year. I don't know. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts. We could contact these people. Obviously, they'd get their money back and so forth. Some people may decide this on their own, too.
I hate to be Scrooge, but I think we ought to follow the governor's.
Yeah.
I hate to be violating his law.
Yeah.
I would hate for somebody to complain and the police go to an area of the city and somebody's violated, but then we've, as a city, has rented out the community room
Right.
and there was more
Yep,
than 10 people in
absolutely.
there. That would be a real problem we would have.
Hey, I just want to tell these people that you guys canceled their Thanksgiving. No, I'm teasing. No, honestly, I made these notes yesterday with a meeting, and today was the hearing on it. So I concur. I think that we should. And I think a lot of the people probably are going to look to not do it anyway. But we'll cancel everything between now and the end of the year. And then I know this is for 21 days, but I think we don't have a whole lot of activity. Well, usually it's closed down because of Sharing Tree, pretty much for the month of December. That wasn't the case this year because they don't need that space. But I think that's what we'll do for now. Give us time and then see where we're at in January. Yeah.
Yes.
Are we going to have to close our audience down for our meetings?
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
no more than 10, right?
No more than 10.
right.
Right.
It's more than 10.
Well, there's 11 of us, so I won't come.
Okay, I'm out.
Each one of you get a night off.
I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Do we want to rotate?
That's a good point. We oughta, the curfew goes in effect to Thursday, so,
So
we're gonna talk later about other meetings and so forth. So, yeah, we can probably get clarity on that. We can get the word out. So, you guys better enjoy this meeting, I think.
Yep,
I think
don't
it's-
hurry up,
Sorry.
you'll be in violation of
Cincinnati's
two.
canceling their meetings right now, which
Alright.
we cannot do that this time of year. I don't
No.
understand how they're doing that.
What'd you say?
Cincinnati's canceling meetings.
Yeah. I heard
I
that
don't know how
City
they're-
Hall's closed to
Yeah.
public and
We can't, I mean, we've got budget. we
You
have-
gotta have, the
jail.
government's gotta function.
Yeah, and this time of year, we gotta get all the end of the year stuff done.
Congress and the Senate, I'm sure, not canceling things.
think about our county building, but.
So, as a follow-up from our last meeting on the information from TEC, and I got clarity. I knew there was something when I discussed this with them, on the pricing. And he did price out each thing separately. However, if you combine a couple, like if we wanted to combine the traffic study and the stop sign, there would be a savings because, there's mobilization, different kinds of fees bid, and he hasn't given me because I haven't told him. But I think this will kind of help you guys better understand them. And I'm sorry I didn't have that information. What I usually do is, we talked about it after the last meeting, I called him that next morning, and then by the following meeting, I couldn't quite recall what we had discussed, but this gives us the clarity now, so. I don't know if you guys want to do any of this. I know we don't want to do all of it, or do we want to do a traffic count and a stop sign study, or just the stop sign? Because that's what the petition requested a stop sign, as well as speed bumps, but, we've kind of given our position on that. I don't think that's changed, so.
The people, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, it'd just be the one price for the stop signs.
Yeah, the 760 yeah, right.
Well, the people that live on Bernard pay their taxes just like everybody else, so they deserve some services. I think we should do the traffic count and the stop sign study to start with, and if we see there's a need for more, we could come back and talk about the other study.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I support that.
I did too.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
What I was gonna recommend.
Okay, I'll reach out to them and see when they can get started.
Right now.
I think this can pretty much happen unless it's, severe weather. And they'll be able to do it even in the cold months, so. Okay, great, thanks for that information. Like the mayor said, I have stuff for the executive session, but other than that, I think that covers my report tonight.
Okay,
I have a question.
yes.
This may be old business, but how many people took the fire test and how'd it go?
There were, there were 34 that signed up, which we were pleased with. I think 30 people showed, and I believe the Civil Service Commission met today. And I believe there's 23 or 24 candidates that are going to be on the list. They're in the process of certifying the top 10. So it's a pretty decent number. Yeah, a lot of conversations lately with Steve, just how do you determine seniority? Because that'll come into play down the road, if we do more than, mass hire, or, 7 at once. And Steve's not familiar, so just kind of a lot of talking through. But boy, what I do realize is and I've already reached out to Clemens Nelson, is we really need to get an update on our civil service rules. You saw what we tried to do on that ordinance. That's kind of a Band-Aid, something that we need to get going on, next year, and work with them and get that updated so it reads more of a classified, unclassified versus specific police, fire, whatever we're talking about. That will be something I'll be getting on it the first year.
When you get the list of 10, then we'll start interviews?
Yes.
Would that be you and Steve?
Typically, no. I mean, Steve will put a committee. Sometimes we ask residents to come in. I don't know, you know, with the fire, a big thing on this is the agility test, right? So they may decide to do that first, because if somebody can't pass agility, then we don't want to waste the time interviewing them and so forth. We are going to they are going to follow some of the stuff that the police have put in place, Vince has put in place since he's come on, with some of the psychologicals and different, since these are full-time hires, and it's important. So, yeah, I mean, we may do the agility first to get it down, and if hopefully everybody in Tim passes that, and then we can start the interview process. I've encouraged him to usually what the police department does, and I think it works well, is you try to bring in somebody from the community or outside and have a few of his officers on there as well.
Thank you.
That's all, Mr. Coker?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Finance Director, Mr. Bauer. Didn't forget you, Scott. That's the first.
Well, really all I have is October's in your packets. Let me know if you have questions. Next month I'll be getting you with appropriations and housekeeping, all that fun stuff, so that's really all I have.
Anybody questions for Mr. Bauer?
Nope.
Thank you, Scott. Ordinances and resolutions. We have the second reading on a number of issues. The first will be the second reading of an ordinance number 20-1924. An ordinance assessing cost of the removal of high grass and weeds and declaring an emergency. Questions or comments, council?
For me.
Then I would request a motion to adopt if anybody's interested.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 20-1924.
Okay, Ms. Peterson has made a motion to adopt.
I'll second.
Mr. George has seconded.
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mrs. Moody?
Aye.
Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Ms. Peterson?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dursa?
Aye.
Mr. George?
Aye.
Okay, by a vote of 7-0, ordinance 20-1924 is adopted. We have a second reading on a resolution. Resolution number 20-1153. A resolution authorizing the city manager of the city of Mount Healthy to accept funds from the Hamilton County Community Development COVID-19 grant, the CDBG/CV project program, and to execute documents relating to said project. Bill, you want to touch on this a little bit? Just
Yeah, I mean, this
we
was.
had so many people missing.
Right, yeah. Again, this is just some last-minute funding that came through, focused a lot on restaurants and trying to get outdoor seating. So a lot of this, or help businesses. We applied for the full amount that we thought we could get, which we got. And so we'll be putting in a pavilion area, like Judy had mentioned. And another pavilion we're going to put in the park. Picnic tables. We're going to open this up to the businesses in town that have a need for some of these things that can help expand their outdoor business.
Okay, questions or comments, council? Then I would like to ask for a motion to adopt. We had the first reading last meeting.
2 weeks ago.
I make a motion to adopt resolution number 20-1153.
Ms. Moody has made a motion to adopt. Do I have a second? Ms. Lingo?
Mrs. Lingo? Mrs. Moody?
Aye.
Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Ms. Peterson?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dursa?
Aye.
Mr. George?
Aye.
Okay, by a vote of 7-0, resolution 20-1153 is adopted. A second reading on resolution number 20-1154. And you had a revised resolution on your desk tonight. A resolution authorizing the city manager to execute all necessary documents and to take all necessary actions to make full payment to the city of North College Hill for the city of Mount Healthy's agreed-upon portion of the Ohio Public Works Commission, the OPWC loan with respect to the Leboido, Dundee Park, and North-South Lindale project. Mr. Coker.
Yeah, I got this late last meeting, and I think council brought up some good points about getting specific on what we want to do here. And honestly, this is such a unique situation. It was a great project that we joint, did this with North College Hill. Our all-in cost was less than 10% of the project. So, 95, that's engineering and everything, or the amount we owe, which is 97, 97,960, includes engineering and everything. And it's unique because they actually were the lead on this, so they're on the hook for the 0% loan. It goes on their books. But like we've talked before in finance and council, we have, our CIP fund has a nice balance in there. And short of this being a discussion every year for the next 10 years, who knows who's going to be involved, I just really wanted this ordinance to have it on record that we did this, we paid this, we'll put a copy of the check, attached to this thing, so 6, 7, 8 years from now, somebody from North College Hill comes up and says, hey, wait a minute, you guys never paid us. Well, we've got as much documentation as we can. So that's kind of I've never done something like this in the, how many ever years I've been doing this. So, but I hope this makes it clear.
Mr. Wolf, you heard? Okay. Questions or comments, council? This allows Mr. Coker to go ahead and pay the full amount that we owe North College Hill. Be done with it.
Very good.
I make a motion to adopt Resolution 20-1154.
Okay, Mr. Parsons has made a motion to adopt. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Redding?
Fast enough, Keisha.
Mrs. Lingo,
Aye.
Mrs. Moody,
Aye.
Mr. Parsons,
Aye.
Ms. Peterson,
Aye.
Mr. Redding,
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa, Mr. George.
Aye.
Okay, by a vote of 7-0, Resolution 20-1154 is adopted. Then we have a first reading. No, would this be a first reading?
Yes,
Yep.
the new one.
Yeah, 20-1925. An ordinance assessing cost of the removal of litter, rubbish, and garbage and declaring an emergency. Mr. Bill, is that something you'd like to get done to get it on the tax bill,
That'd be great.
county?
I make a motion to waive the 2 reading rule on ordinance number 20-1925.
Okay, Ms.
I apologize. I do have one question that I'm seeing in my copy, and I just want to make sure it's not on the original. But it looks like under the third whereas, it looks like there's a line through, and I'm assuming it's a copy issue. There's a line through the second line.
I got that too.
Yeah.
So is that I don't know what the original has, so,
It doesn't have that, so it must be a printer.
okay,
Probably something on the screen of the printer.
Yep.
Yeah.
okay. Just checking.
That's fine, worthwhile.
And
ahead.
just so we can, this is a kind of, there's 2 different formats that they used, and the original one went out in the packet, didn't include rubbish or garbage. This was actually a camper that was abandoned on this property that we actually towed. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, so, but it was a real eyesore, so we're glad that Bill got it in and got it out of there. So that's what this will assess, is the cost of that.
I'll second the motion to suspend the 2 reading rule.
Mr. Parsons has seconded. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lingo,
Aye.
Mrs. Moody,
Aye.
Mr. Parsons,
Aye.
Ms. Peterson,
Aye.
Mr. Redding,
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa,
Aye.
Mr. George.
Aye.
Okay, by a vote of 7-0, the 2 reading rule has been suspended. Are there any other discussion or questions regarding this ordinance?
I make a motion to adopt ordinance 20-1925.
Mr. Redding has made a motion to adopt. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Peterson?
Mrs. Lingo,
Aye.
Mrs. Moody,
Aye.
Mr. Parsons.
Aye.
Ms. Peterson.
Aye.
Mr. Redding.
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa. Mr. George.
Aye.
Okay, by a vote of 7-0, ordinance 20-1925 is adopted. That is all of our ordinances and resolutions. Old business. New business, council.
Do we want to, do we want to talk about, do we want to just have council, try to limit our council meeting to 10 next time? I think your point, if we're trying to lead by example.
I think we should.
Yep. Actually, I think we do.
Right. So,
We have the option of, maybe one of us doing it remotely.
I don't think there's any, what do we have? We have 7, 8, we got 11 with me and, the mayor.
12 with
Scott.
Mr. Bauer.
Yeah, right.
We generally have somebody missing.
Uh-huh. I'll talk, I guess I need to talk to Scott. I don't know, there's probably more clarity coming out on the order. I'll ask him if we're allowed to have, I think what we are saying is we probably need to close it off again to we'll just have it live streamed.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, because we have the person that does the live streaming, that as well. So I need to talk to Scott to see if in order to conduct our business, to like the mayor's point of passing legislation that's needed, that if we can, have that, and we'll go from there. But at a minimum, I think we'll get the word out that it will be just done by a live stream, and then through email, we can determine, who can be here or whatever, if that works for everybody.
Well, I think the governor's talking about social get-togethers rather than business
I
or
think
government.
Right.
But I can see not having audience,
Uh-huh.
but I think the 12 of us would be
Socially distanced.
socially distanced.
Right.
But you can,
I'll
it's
get
up to
confirmed.
the lawyer, obviously.
Sure, I'll confirm that. And I'm sorry I'll disappoint somebody and say, first one in gets to sit out.
Okay. Other new business, council. Okay, then there's going to be a motion needed for an executive session. I need somebody to make that.
Can these be made together?
Yes,
Okay.
that big and, just do it and
Okay.
between, yeah.
Just read it the way it is on here, right?
Yes, exactly.
Who wants to read it? Sure, you can read.
With my glasses fogging up. I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code 121.22 G1 to discuss employment compensation of a public employee, and a motion to go into executive session in accordance with Ohio Revised Code 121.22 G3 to discuss pending or I can't say that word.
Imminent
Imminent legislation with the city attorney.
litigation.
City attorney, I told you I can't see.
Okay, we need a voice vote, yeah.
So George
Mrs.
seconded it.
Lingo.
George has seconded that motion.
Aye.
Mrs. Moody.
Aye.
Mr. Parsons.
Aye.
Ms. Peterson.
Aye.
Mr. Redding.
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa.
Aye.
Mr. George.
Okay, for the ICRC fans and so forth, when we come back from executive session, we will just close the meeting, so you don't have to stay.
We're going to have the meeting here.
Yeah, we can't go into that.
That's right.
Go in the little room.
So,
Right, we're gonna have it here. So actually, we can, what we've always done in the past is allow the ICRC in the broadcast, and then we'll get started.
Quick question about this, Mr. Coker.
Uh-huh.
Are we required to have these before we adjourn the meeting? Is that illegal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we never do anything after we come back?
People could sit here and wait till we open up the doors and formally adjourn if they wanted. They just